Hello and welcome to the return from hiatus of Talk Shop with DM Schmeier and TJ Hafer. Ringing in the new year, it is the first.
It is,
and we're gonna get back to this. We're gonna try to do this podcast probably once a month now, so we don't get burnt out like we did last time. But we've got cool stuff to talk about. We've got a series to finish, and today we're gonna ring things in by discussing our games of the year, games we missed. Games we anticipate, just gonna pay tribute to the year in gaming that wasn't for us. So
it's 2018. We have posted on the website, if you want to go to loresworn.com and follow along, our Loresworn Games of the Year list, which we broke up into games we didn't get to but wish we had, games of the year, and then of course our most anticipated games of this year, which specifically means games that have been given a release date in 2018.
You'll see I have a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, like one of my most anticipated. I'm like, they say it's coming. I doubt it is, so I have an honorable mention in case people think I'm cheating.
I had the same deal happen, but a lot of people were saying, why isn't Cyberpunk 2077 on your list? It's because CG Projekt has specifically said it will not be out in 2018. That's why.
And here's as far as Cyberpunk goes, they're going to give a release date eventually, probably in 2018. I will make a bet with anybody that wants to make a bet that gets pushed back at least once.
Yeah.
It's that type of game. It's going to be amazing. We both know that it's going to be an instant Game of the Year contender whenever it comes out.
Please take your time on it, CD Projekt.
I'm just saying, it would not shock me if it came out Q1 of 2020 at this point. It just wouldn't.
So as always, actually way more so this year than last year. I could have even done a top 10 for this category, but as always, there were quite a few games we wanted to play this year that we didn't get to.
And we are actually doing something about that this year. We've talked about it. One of the biggest things that keeps us from getting to the games we want to is work and other things. We don't really we love what we do at Loresworn Order. We are having so much fun crafting Project Grayson from the ground up, which, by the way, news on that coming in a couple months. It's going to be exciting. A lot of stuff is moving forward. But one of the things we forgot to do in 2017, and frankly, I think we forgot to do it in 2016 too, is game for fun. Right? We made it a little bit too much of our job. It's even more your job than it is for me. And I think good games fly under the radar because you don't make time for them.
And it's funny when playing games does become as big a part of your job as it is for you, especially as it is for me. You spend less time playing games for fun than you did before games was your job.
It's funny. It's the same thing. I came to a revelation in my life. I'm not a New Year's resolution man, mainly because I try to live my life the ideal way. 24/7.
Don't give yourself a 364-day excuse to
freaking exactly. You need to
resolve to do something.
And that's advice straight from my granddad to my dad to me to you people is you got to be your best self 24/7.
Make a right now resolution, which right now, coincidentally, would be a New Year's resolution.
Absolutely.
But if you're listening to this on March 14th, just go ahead and make a March 14th resolution. Doesn't matter.
I got a library card on September 20th. And one of the things that I was doing at this point is, Chloe and Brianna are starting this bullet journaling thing, which I've begun.
Which you can read about on... I've been using it. Read about it on the website.
They're
cool stuff.
They're cool. They're really cool. And I one of the things I did is, let's take stock of the reading I've done here recently. And to my horror, and it was to my horror, 80% of what I've read in the last 5 years are law texts or political science texts. 10% of it are writing and screenwriting how-tos for my other professional career as an author. And I had read, up until September when I got this library card, since 2012, my graduation from the University of Denver, I had read 4 novels.
Wow.
4 new novels. Reading used to be... you know what? I'm not going to try to extemporaneously monologue to put it into words. Suffice it to say, the critical activity of my existence growing up. I was nothing without it. Reading is, I'll be honest, even if it's sacrilege on a cast like this, reading is more important to me than gaming.
Well, we were those nerdy weirdo kids who would go over to each other's houses and just sit in the same room and just read 2 different books.
Yeah. We used to have a system going in elementary school. We'd have 3 books.
Yeah.
And one of us would be reading one, and the other would be reading the other. And we'd be reading it under the desk while the teacher was trying to teach something we weren't interested in. And if one of us got caught, the teacher would take the book. It's like, you can come get it at the end of the school day. But one of us always had a spare that we clandestinely pass off. Because our teachers started getting wise. It's like, okay, I took one, and now I'm going to look in your desk for any other non-approved reading material.
Yeah.
So we used to lend each other assists by, it's like, all right, if he gets caught, he's going to lose his backup and what he's reading, but I'll have a backup, and I'll just slip that over to you clandestinely. We were conniving kids. We were conniving naughty children. But
it was so horrible that we were consuming literature on school time. Ugh.
No, but I decided, it's like, you know what? In my current professional cluttered landscape, I will not read a non-legal, non-political science or non-craft writing, and that's what I'm going to call when I read a book to help improve my writing technique, right?
Yeah.
I call it craft writing books. If I don't make myself, because I've got a lot going on in my life, we're entrepreneurs, right? We're trying to build something from the ground up, and there's a lot of demands on our time. And I'm not saying it's a waste of, I'm not saying, you reading any of the inimitable Larry Brooks or James Scott Bell is a waste of time. It's not. It's a very, very good very, very good use of time. But if we're going to enjoy things and get to more things, read amazing books, play amazing games that you didn't get assigned for a review or that we just don't find Twitchable or YouTubeable, we've got to make time to do it. So we got together and, I came to this as like, you know what, I'm going to use this library card and I'm going to make myself read 5 books a month that have nothing to do with my professional career at all. And it's one of the best things I have ever made myself do. By the way, it's not usually limited to 5 books a month at this point. I'm almost always doing more. And reading's back. My love of it. I'm reading plenty of fiction, which has made me a better writer. And I'm still reading craft writing books and legal books and history books, political science books. Just a little bit less, a little bit more moderation, so I enjoy them a little bit more. And variety's the spice of life. So all that to say, games we didn't get to but wish we had are one of our goals, one of our resolutions is to make this list a lot harder to make in 2018. So we're going to dedicate time this year keeping each other accountable. We're going to game for fun. No cameras are going to be on. No microphones are going to be on. And we're going to get to some of these games because we freaking want to. Yeah. And I think that'll be a wonderful thing for both our energy levels and so that's one of my big goals is I want to agonize through this list next year. Well, what did I miss? What didn't I get to?
Well, like one of the big ones, my number 5, I think it was your number 4, Resident Evil 7, which was on like both of our most anticipated lists last year. We didn't even get to it.
No.
People are saying it's the best Resident Evil game since Resident Evil 4. It's like a return to form for the series. One of the best horror games. You know how big a horror game nerd I am, and somehow I missed Resident Evil 7 and Outlast 2, which were like the 2 big horror...
I'm ashamed with Resident Evil 7. I actually had that game from my GameFly account sitting here for like 20 days. Yeah. And I canceled my GameFly account because I love the service. GameFly's a wonderful idea. I love that it's out there. I never get to it. Yeah. It's like I never find the time to play a GameFly game, so it ends up just being kind of a shot $20 a month for me, so I canceled it and sent it back. Didn't even play a minute. Wow. And it kind of disgusts me. I'm thinking we might need to pick that up.
It's
for
like
one of our game nights here.
$22 on the Steam winter sale right now, so we might just have to do that.
Yeah, we'll do one of our game nights. Resident
Evil 7. Really looking forward to that one.
Everything I've seen of it, you try to avoid spoilers and trailers and whatnot as best you can, but I've seen a few. It looks amazing, creepy, horrifying, scary.
The one thing I'm most curious about is it going to feel like Resident Evil?
Yeah,
because it looks a lot more like like a frictional game or like Outlast.
Or an Outlast. Yeah, I was going to say Outlast is the biggest corollary from what I've seen.
So I'm curious if it's actually going to feel like a Resident Evil game or if it's going to be more of a, first-person horror style game in the Resident Evil universe.
Either way, though, I put stock in critical opinion, especially when I trust it. And I have not seen... from a single voice who I've come to trust in the reviews industry, I've not seen a score below an 8 out of 10 or an equivalent. So I'm reasonably certain no matter what it is, even if it's not really Resident Evil or whatever, we're going to enjoy it.
Well, and if you remember back when Resident Evil 4 came out, people were like, what is this? Like, it was so different from Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 that people, like, it took them a sec to get their head around it. Like, they just turned it into an action game. It's not really Resident Evil.
It remains on a lot of people's top 100 games ever list.
Resident Evil was the best game of that entire console generation. I don't remember what number generation it was, but whatever that, like, GameCube, PS2 generation... Resident Evil 4 was the best game of that console generation.
I don't know that I agree with that, but it's up there.
Yeah.
It's certainly up there. So I'm looking forward to Resident Evil 7.
Yes. So we had a flip-flop. So my number 5, your number 4 is Resident Evil 7. My number 4, your number 5, Nier Automata, which... seems like the big RPG that I should be kicking myself for missing this.
Yeah, it got a lot. It's almost already got the cult status that the original Nier does, and that's why I was interested.
I had never heard of the original.
Nier is underrated.
Yeah.
I won't call it a masterpiece, but it is a very good RPG that nobody played. I really enjoyed it. Had a great, tight, minimalistic story, fun combat, like an interesting game mechanics, and I just really enjoyed it. And so, a sequel to it, I don't know how a game that it seemed, I don't know, I don't have access to the sales figures or whatnot, but it seems like no one bought Nier, because I didn't definitely hear
I had never heard of it, so...
how it gets a sequel, though, is beyond me. If any of you knows the story to that, drop some knowledge, because I would love to hear that Nier sold well. I thought it was one of those, and there are always 4 or 5 in every generation of games where it's like, God damn, this is good, and it's a shame that no one played it. No one bought it. This game might have even lost money. We don't know. So I would love to hear that Nier was more successful than I thought, because it spawned a sequel.
And it was not on my radar at all until, like, I have kind of this trusted group of people who are big RPG nerds, and I tend to pay attention when they, put a flare up that, hey, this is really good, and pretty much all of them loved this game. They said, one guy said it made him completely forget about Mass Effect Andromeda like 4 hours in. So,
which we will rant on that being underrated later.
We will.
Mass Effect Andromeda, by the way, would have been on my Games of the Year list. We're at a top 10, not a top 5. It would have landed right at number 6.
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk about that.
Well, that's coming.
That's coming.
If you've been browsing through these articles while we're talking, you already know that's coming.
The theme of this podcast, in addition to talking through our lists, is getting back to fun and what is fun and why do we want to have fun. And Andromeda is kind of going to be the centerpiece of that discussion. But as far as Nier goes, it's the same for me. I have friends who I trust their opinion. We play the PlayStation together all the time, and a lot of them were like, it's either their game of the year or their number 2. Yeah. So I'm like, I gotta, and apparently it embraces a lot of that visual novel Japanese style of storytelling where each time through's different. Yeah, and you've gotta go through all the branches to even really know what's going on. Yeah. And I'm told that you kind of have to give yourself patience that first playthrough, because a lot of people, their first playthrough, they're just confused as hell. Yeah. And then once you start getting those other pieces, it starts to coalesce quick. I think that could be masterful if the gameplay surrounding it is strong enough to make me want to keep playing even when I'm confused. Yeah. And I trust the critical acclaim that's come out about this. So
that's definitely one we want to loop back around to. See, your number 3, or my number 3, your number 2, which actually, as of the recording of this podcast, I have bought and played. But at the time of writing the article, I had not. Super Mario Odyssey.
I love platformers. I have a soft spot for them. Mario is the granddaddy of all platformers, and Mario retains one of those distinctions where, Super Mario Brothers 2 was average, but I will say that no game that Mario has been in my opinion, has ever been bad. All the Super Mario,
not that I can think of.
Super Mario 1, the platformer. Super Mario 3, maybe the greatest 2D platformer of all time. Super Mario 64 defined. Without Super Mario 64, the platformer genre dies at 3D.
Well,
It dies. I don't think we'd ever gotten
3D games in general would not have developed along the same lines they would without Super Mario 64.
Nah, Super Mario Sunshine, a gem. I can't believe how much that gets underrated.
Super underrated game.
Yeah, it's a gem.
You look at like Mario 64, highly rated. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, highly rated. The games that were the successors to each of those, Mario Sunshine and Majora's Mask, ended up being super underrated, which I think most people agree with now, that they got too much backlash when they came out
gems.
for not being Ocarina and not being Mario 64.
There's never been a bad Super Mario game, ever. And a great many of them, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Galaxy and Galaxy 2, oh my goodness, masterpieces.
I never played Galaxy 2, I did play Galaxy 1. I can say up to this point so far, I'm enjoying Odyssey a lot more than I enjoyed Galaxy. I think it might be... I mean, I'm 12 hours in, so this is silly to say. It might be the best 3D Mario game. I'm disappointed I didn't play it in time to include it in Games of the Year contention. It's very, very strong, in terms of the art direction, in terms of the platforming.
I really feel like Nintendo's coming out with the Switch with guns blazing. I think they're seeking to recapture the market that they've lost.
Yeah.
And their status as one of the developers in video games that they've lost. I mean, the Wii U was a disaster. Let's not call it anything, but and I don't know that you can say, I don't know that too many people outside of the Nintendo community have been playing too many of their games for 4 or 5 years.
No, I mean, the last console I bought before the Switch was the original Wii. I bought it on launch day in 2006. Maybe 2007. I'm trying to remember when it came out in the
slate of Wii games, in my opinion, was incredibly weak.
I owned 3 games for it ever. Twilight Princess wasn't even one of them because I'd already beaten that on GameCube. And I left it behind when I moved out to college. I just left it with my brother because I was like, I never play this anymore. So for 10 years, I did not own a console. I never touched the Wii U. I had a couple handhelds. It wasn't until the Switch that I got back into console gaming.
Yeah, I think that Nintendo is they're coming guns blazing with the Switch. Just some tremendous titles that are getting rave reviews, and I like it. I like that the old original developers coming out swinging, because I feel like if the Switch went the way of the Wii U, I think the sun sets on Nintendo. I really do. I don't think they could endure a disaster that bad as the Wii generation back to back. Now, the Wii was a financial success, but let's be real, tremendously weak in terms of its game selection.
Yeah.
I thought its control scheme was annoying. It was innovative, but I hated playing Wii.
Yeah.
And I really feel like Nintendo was up against it. And I love them coming off the wall with haymakers. Yeah. I love it. It's so cool.
And I've talked before, I'm a hardcore PC player. 90% of the games I play probably on PC. The Switch is the perfect complement. If you're going to have a PC and one other thing, the Switch, it doesn't aim for the same objectives as the PC, so it's very complementary to the PC. It's this hybrid handheld thing that you can you could be playing Zelda and you need to poop and you don't need to stop playing Zelda at any point during that process.
I'm not going to judge. I would stop, but I'm not going to judge.
You can, but you don't have to. It might be advisable. You don't want to get,
pink eye and shit.
Exactly. Yeah. That's always a concern. If you look at the Xbox or the PlayStation 4, what they have over PC, plug and play, fewer technical issues and certain exclusives.
Also, I think a lot of people talk about PC for multiplayer. Console owns multiplayer. More people own them. It's so casual and so easy to do.
It is a larger pool to pull from.
Yeah,
in a lot of cases.
I have a lot of easier time. Overwatch is my PC multiplayer game. I have an easier time putting together a game of Borderlands on the PlayStation. I just always have. And we're gonna be playing probably some Destiny and stuff. Together, so that's worth it. But I think the modern gamer, especially as we get our finances into good shape and our businesses grow, we're going to have all of them.
I hope we do get to that point.
There's
where
no point in being elitist.
Consider like all platforms and actually have time to play all of the Buzz games.
Yeah, I make that a priority. Frankly, in my life, I've never been the one who's like elitist on one side or another. I want them all, and I mean, I own a PlayStation. I own a gaming PC. The Switch is on my list. I think I don't know that you need both the Xbox One and the PS4. I don't know that you need both. But once I have the Switch, I'll consider I have a DS. Once I have the Switch, I'll consider my gaming collection complete, and I try to play it all. Although, like I said, these last 2 years, I've let a lot of my gaming for enjoyment slip. Yeah. But I think it's a golden age everywhere. The PlayStation 4 is the strongest console I've ever seen in terms of exclusives, the fun stuff there is to play. The Switch is coming out swinging. Yeah. I mean, oh my goodness, Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild is your launch. Like, talk about a double-barrel shotgun of awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this great stuff on Switch right now. There's great stuff on PC right now. There's great stuff on PlayStation right now. Xbox is still around.
It is, yeah. Not having a difficult time recovering from getting whomped on their release year.
They just need some more and better exclusives, I think, is going to be the key for them.
And they've got you're not going to catch them, so you've got to be your own thing now.
Yeah.
And I have heard that they're doing things along that line, so good for them.
Yeah, we'll see. Microsoft's hardware development has never been like supremely impressive to me, but we'll see what they've got under their.
But Super Mario Odyssey, Mario and Link leading the Switch, into relevance,
and not only like, oh yeah, it's a new Mario game and a new Zelda game. It's a new Mario game and a new Zelda game that both get the series out of the rut that they've been in since the late 90s. Like I was discussing that if you look,
I think rut's cruel. I think that's a little ungenerous, but they're back to innovating.
Rut in the sense of a wagon rut that your wheel travels through. Like it's like every Zelda game since Ocarina of Time has basically been Ocarina of Time with a different setting and different dungeons. They didn't. I mean, Wind Waker. The most innovative thing about it is that you got everywhere on a boat instead of a horse.
And it was cel shaded.
Yeah, that too. The visual design, but they had sort of this formula down. But we'll talk about that more later because we are going to talk about Zelda.
Bringing Nintendo back into relevance, though. Super Mario. Can't wait to play more of it.
So my number 2 game that I didn't play but wish I had was Wolfenstein 2. I love alternate history. I'm a big fan of like the Man in the High Castle series, like the idea of playing, these resistance fighters kicking, the Nazis out of the U.S., and we've got all kinds of like weird technology from this alternate timeline. Seems really cool. The first one wasn't really that much on my radar because I haven't really.
And it was good.
I haven't really gotten into like single player campaign type shooters lately. But I feel like I want to go back and play both of these now, both the first Wolfenstein reboot and Wolfenstein 2. It's kind of, it hits the spot to be like, we're going to kick the Nazis out of the US of A.
It's good alternate history. Wolfenstein starts with a premise, what if the Nazis won World War II, but it doesn't end there, which a lot of that's what Homefront got wrong, and that's what it's like. Yeah. It doesn't end there. There's actually a deep lore to it. Like, what happened to the Japanese? Like, Wolfenstein has a very satisfactory answer to that.
Yeah.
What happened to Europe? Like, what are their designs for the new world now that they've conquered us? Because, let's be real, the most likely alternate history scenario with the Nazis winning World War II is a cowed America, not a conquered one.
Right.
Most people knew that they weren't coming over the ocean and conquering us. There weren't even plans to do so that were very serious. Like, there were concepts, but if I recall correctly, they weren't like, here's war plan, stars and stripes. Yeah. We're gonna go take Washington D.C.
It would return on investment for a land invasion of the United States, even if you had like some kind of card up your sleeve that would let you actually win. The return on investment would be horrible. You'd lose millions of lives, and you'd get a destroyed country because we would blow the shit out of everything.
Well, and Wolfenstein kind of addresses that too. Like the United States aren't just a conquered nation; they're a shattered nation, because that's what it would take. And also, let's be real, after fighting the USSR and Britain, Nazi Germany didn't have the manpower.
No.
Like, we would have instituted mandatory service for every able-bodied man, woman, and teenager.
Yeah.
And we would have literally drowned the Axis powers in our manpower.
Well, and that's one thing I like about Man in the High Castle is, they got to the Rockies and stopped. Like, they realized it's better to just, leave this kind of demilitarized zone than to try to...
And let's be real, they wouldn't have gotten past the Appalachians. They wouldn't have gotten to the Rockies.
No.
Yeah, I don't even actually think they'd have gotten past the beaches.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Not with an armed society. There's our firearm ownership. Yeah.
I mean, look what happened when we tried to invade the North American continent, Kaiserreich.
Yeah.
In our Kaiserreich series.
No fun.
And that was with a much more logistically sound army than
we a true superpower. Our Kaiserreich military was so much more formidable.
We had colonies.
Yeah.
We had trade.
Our navy was better. Our air force was larger. Our army was twice as big and more powerful and better equipped.
Our navy was like powerful enough that they could have taken on the real world British and German navies from World War II simultaneously
without losing a lot of ships. Not only could they have done that, but I think casualties would have been under 10% in that engagement.
Check out our Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich series if you haven't already.
And New American Century and the original Kaiserreich. They're both fun.
And if you have already watched it, hey, you got some free time. You got some time off work. Why not go back and rewatch it? It's a good time.
Watch MacArthur.
Yeah. Like and subscribe, hit the bell icon, buy our t-shirts. We
shameless plugs.
Yeah.
All right, man. Wolfenstein: The New Colossus didn't make it onto my games most anticipated because I played 5 hours of it.
Okay.
I had to stop because it was at a relative's, but
Gotcha.
I didn't feel good about putting a game on this list that I had actually played like a fifth of. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. So my number one, which we'll delay talking about because it was actually on your list of games of the year, of games you actually did play, was Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Which, primarily the reasons I'm interested in it is because I know the story was written by a PhD in Norse mythology. So that's pretty huge for me. We'll loop back around to that.
I kind of can't wait.
My honorable mentions, Neo, which we actually have played a little bit of now.
TJ bought the Switch and started playing Super Mario. My New Year's gift to myself was Neo.
Yeah. Which seems pretty slick so far.
Yeah, it didn't make my games I missed. It should have. It's incredible. Yeah, it's incredible.
That's what I keep hearing. It's like the best Souls-like game that is not actually made by From Software.
And it's its own thing.
Yeah.
It takes some Souls elements. It has a deeper combat system than Dark
melee
Souls
combat based, and you're really squishy. That's basically what the Souls like.
And it doesn't have the Dark Souls it has this rich dark fantasy world that's just like a feast for the eyes and the senses. Neo doesn't. It's Japan. But so there's Japanese buildings but I would argue that the combat system's even deeper.
Yeah.
Even better. It's got some Bloodborne going on. It's got some it's got the arguably, I can't wait to see how it holds up as I get better and fight tougher enemies, but it might have what will go down as a contender for me for the finest melee combat system I've ever played. So
nice.
It has a dose of realism to it that I love.
And then two narrative games that I didn't get to this year were also on my honorable mentions. What Remains of Edith Finch and Tacoma, which each of these have been number one game of the year for 2017 from someone I respect. And
I've never even heard of Tacoma.
Both made very, very compelling arguments. Tacoma is the one it takes place in like a space station, I think, and you're going back through and trying to figure out what happened.
I'll look it up.
On the space
I'll look
station.
it up because What Remains of Edith Finch is something that I'm sad I missed. I love.
Me too.
Yeah, I love.
Yeah, there are a couple of people who I know. I have a similar taste that have said this was bar none their number one game of 2017.
Interesting. All right, filling in the gaps.
Yeah, so...
my number 5 was Nier Automata, and my number 4 was Resident Evil 7. What Remains of Edith Finch was my number 3.
Okay.
I love narrative adventure games. They have a soft spot for me because they define a lot of my childhood, right back to Pajama Sam. And I am told that What Remains of Edith Finch is a masterpiece in this area. An amazing, incredible, engaging story, beautiful design, scares that aren't cheap, amazing atmosphere, right in fitting with what this studio does. They're masters at this genre at this point, and I wanted to play this game. I actually have it. I've just not played it.
I am definitely looking forward to playing that too. We should also do a podcast at some point about how Pajama Sam was the shit back in the day.
Yeah, a Pajama Sam cast. Pajama cast.
We'll wear pajamas and talk about Pajama Sam.
Yep. Yeah. Have our flashlight, our lunchbox, our
By
masks.
the way, don't spell that with a Y. No. Commonwealth people, why do you spell pajamas with a Y? Come on. Come on.
I'm not saying that your ways of spelling are why you lost the revolution, but they didn't help.
Yeah.
They didn't help you. Had you dropped some U's, maybe you'd have had less time writing the table and more time fighting Yanks. Just saying. Saying.
See, I'm totally cool with, I'll spell armor with a U until the day I die if British people will stop saying maths. That THS
I twitched a little bit.
Doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I twitched a little bit.
And yes, I know that it's short for mathematics, but it's
arithmetic.
Math.
Okay,
it's math. Okay, it's math. You can't do THS at the end of a word. That doesn't work. Webster wasn't right about everything, but I think he was right about that. All right. Super Mario Odyssey was your number 2.
Yep, we've described. And my number 1, which we won't spend a ton of time on, because...
it's actually a special mention for me, so this is a good segue.
I wanted to play Breath of the Wild bad.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
I'm a massive Zelda fan. Those who know me know that my number 1... And spoiler alert, because we are planning on finishing our Best Games Ever series this year. The best game ever is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It's my number 1, and my number 2 isn't that close. My silver medal, it wasn't like a photo finish at the finish line for Ocarina of Time's gold. It's the greatest game of all time, in my opinion. And I'm a Zelda fan for life. Yeah. Majora's Mask was almost as good, by the way. Majora's Mask is in my top 20. But after that, Twilight Princess was very good. It was great. Yeah. I remember reviewing it a 9 out of 10. Enjoyed every minute of it. Had more weak dungeons than Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time did. Yeah. Had more slow parts to the story. Had that awful fetch quest at the end of the game that should have been cut. One of the more disastrous gaming decisions, design decisions of that era.
I don't even remember that. What was the...
where you're looking for the stuff for the chicken people to blast you up in the sky. Running all over the place.
I only played Twilight Princess once versus 11 times for Ocarina and probably 3 or 4 for Majora's Mask.
Oh god, so. I got up into the 20s. And,
so I probably need to replay Twilight Princess. I remember enjoying it, just because it was like an Ocarina of Time expansion pack.
Very good game. Yeah, but and Skyward Sword didn't do it for me. It was a good game, but I didn't finish it. I wasn't that invested.
See, I like Skyward Sword more than most people just because I like how it explained the origins of so much of the mythology of the Zelda universe. But it definitely had weaker gameplay than some of the other games in the series.
And it's the series has been foundational. I think it has. And here's the thing: if you don't agree with me that it's the greatest game ever, if you don't have it in your top 10, you're wrong. We'll leave the realm of opinion to the realm of objective fact. And if you don't call this one of the great, if Ocarina isn't one of the greatest games of all time, I don't find your review system very credible.
You're probably just being contrarian at that point, yeah.
So it's got this rich legacy, and I'm a fan. And I have heard, everything I have heard, that says that Breath of the Wild, by doing something completely different, manages to break out of Ocarina's shadow, and thus finally be able to stand beside it. And that... that gets me excited. I can't wait to play it.
It's your number 1 game you missed. I actually created a special category for it, and here's why. I didn't want to just give it an honorable mention and not talk about it, but I also couldn't put it on my top. It definitely, I'm going to say at this point, it definitely would have been in my top 5 games of 2017, except at the time that we had to finalize the text for the article, I was a little more than halfway through. I'm actually pretty close to the end as of the recording of this podcast.
It was like, ethical gray area, and we decided to lean more towards did you play enough of it?
Yeah, not even like necessarily ethical, just like what standards do we want to set for ourselves on these awards?
Yeah, we prefer our games of the year to have been games we finished.
Yeah, exactly. So at this point, as we're recording this podcast, I'm very close to the end. I'm actually like going to Hyrule Castle to fight Ganon. So I've seen most of the core story content. I've seen less than half of the open world content. I've finished like 60 out of 120 shrines, so it's a big game. But here's how I break it down. The original Legend of Zelda, that was for the NES. That was Zelda 1.0. A Link to the Past,
1.5.
That was I would say that's Zelda 2.0. So that's like story is going to matter more now. We've got the concept of hub towns. We've got the concept of discrete dungeons that like each one has a theme, a thing you have to do, like a type of puzzle that's going to be iconic to this dungeon. Ocarina of Time was the beginning of the Zelda 3.0 era. It's full 3D,
the greatest game ever.
Yeah, you've got this big,
literally a towering beacon of excellence.
Yeah. The way the bosses were done kind of was carried over from the 2D Zeldas, but they did a lot of new stuff. They introduced these kind of like collecting side things with like the gold Skulltulas and stuff. Breath of the Wild is Zelda 4.0. Every game since Ocarina of Time, up until Breath of the Wild, was basically made on the Ocarina of Time
model
template.
Yeah, that model. Explore, go to dungeons, collect things, and once you've beaten 8 or 9 dungeons, it's time for the final boss.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild is the biggest step forward for the franchise since we jumped from Link to the Past to Ocarina of Time. It's really helped move the series forward. I don't agree.
Which needed to happen.
Yeah.
Because I think it's indisputable that after Ocarina, they've tried to match Ocarina and failed.
Well, look at, I think everyone's reaction to Skyward Sword, if Skyward Sword had come out with N64 graphics in 1998, I think everyone would have gone bonkers for it. I think a lot of the reason Skyward Sword gets a negative rap is it's like, I've seen this before, dude. Like, you've been feeding me the same game since 1998. Like, it didn't really do anything new. I mean, you can fly around and, like, zip down to new areas and stuff, which is, like, again, it's just a different way to replace riding around the overworld on a horse. The same way that, Wind Waker, which is actually a very good game, added the boat. Wind Waker, I don't think, was actually all that innovative gameplay-wise. Nor was Twilight Princess, nor was Skyward Sword.
Breath of the Wild's its own thing.
Total Breath of the Wild, they've
scavenging, crafting, some survival mechanics to it.
I'm not a fan of the weapon breakage system,
and
personally.
I've heard that just how they do rain was just not a strong design
basically
decision.
If it starts raining, you decide, well, I can't go where I want to go right now. Got to go backtrack and find a fire to sleep at until it's done raining. Yeah, so that they should have at least included like an item you can get, like a pair of boots that lets you climb when it's raining.
So I've heard it's not a perfect game.
It's not. I'd say it's a 9 out of 10.
Here's what it had to do. It had to break out of that Ocarina shadow.
Yes,
because I don't feel like you can ever match the original champion. Mm-hmm. It's like, someone comes out and he's doing something. Mm-hmm. You can't mimic him and be as good. You might still be good. You might still be great. But you've got to be your own kind of thing. And from everything I've heard and seen, and the clips I've seen and the gameplay videos I watched, Breath of the Wild is not as good as Ocarina. But it is its own thing. Which means I think the hope of a Zelda game that comes along soon that takes that crown, possibly as the greatest game of all time, I think it's possible now. Like, I think that now that we've left the Ocarina template, which was a template for the 90s. Yeah. Like, it actually, that whole method of action-adventure dungeon crawler, I don't think it holds up that well. Which is why, Ocarina of Time for the DS is fun, not jaw-dropping.
Well, and so It becomes more of a proper RPG. Like, it takes a lot of hints from, other RPGs that have come out since, in terms of, weapon stats, in terms of crafting, in terms of gathering, just how everything works. Like
it has joined the era of gaming in which we sit.
Yeah. It's updating the Zelda formula to take a lot of the best ideas from other similar games, while also not falling into a lot of the traps of similar games. Like, I was kind of worried when I saw, you have to climb towers to reveal parts of the map. Is this going to just be Assassin's Creed? But then they do really smart stuff, like, we're not going to give you icons on the map that tell you where to go. You have to stand up on the tower with a telescope and be like, okay, that's where I think I need to go. I'm going to place a marker there. Which I love that.
That's very cool.
I absolutely love that. I wish Assassin's Creed and Skyrim and every open world game would do that. Don't just give me an arrow, where do I need to go? Make me actually live in this world.
I consider that the weakest change Skyrim made to the Elder Scrolls formula. Morrowind, it was annoying. Having to read all these journals to find where you're going.
I loved that, though.
But it grew on you to the point where it became a characteristic of the game.
Yeah.
It started annoying, but turned into beloved because it didn't hold your hand. I love how Dark Souls does that, too.
Yeah.
Where am I supposed to go? Figure it out.
Yeah.
And you can figure it out.
Yeah.
It's just not easy. It doesn't hold your hand.
Yep.
And games need to embrace that.
Well, the other big thing I want to say about Breath of the Wild is the dungeons. The way they've changed how they design dungeons is just brilliant. I mean, 3 out of the 4 dungeons in Breath of the Wild are as mind-bending as the Water Temple from Ocarina of Time, because you're in these sacred beasts that are these Magitech giant animal mecha things, and you'll have to do things like make the entire dungeon turn sideways so that you can solve a puzzle. And it's all super well integrated. The puzzles are super clever.
I can't wait to play it.
They involve just paying attention to everything around you. It's not I got the hook shot now, so I'm gonna go back to this room and I bet this puzzle has to do with the hook shot. Yep, there we go, I got it. It's actually some of the best dungeon puzzle design I've seen. The dungeons are very light on combat, but I didn't find myself minding that so much. The dungeons are really all about puzzle solving. They kind of
were in Ocarina too, to be blunt. There were some rooms where you had
some were more than others. The
Fire Temple, you had to do some fighting. But the Water Temple, you really didn't.
Not as much, for sure. So special mention is what I'm calling it. It's not the same as honorable mention. It's recognition that if I had finished this game a little bit faster, it definitely would have been.
Well, and when you're done with it and done with Super Mario, you have to let me play them, and then maybe as its own talk shop, we can give our opinions on them.
Yeah,
that'll be cool.
So we have no overlap actually in our actual top 5s for 2017.
In 2016, I played more PC games than PS4 games. This year it was flipped, just because of how busy things were. And at one point in Q2 and Q3, I worked 3 jobs.
Yeah.
So
I'm still working 3 jobs.
The console. 3 jobs for W4. I mean, I didn't really have a lot of time spent here in the apartment. That's done. I have 1 W4 job, and I work for myself other than that. So I'm playing a lot more computer games. I just started The Long Dark. So good.
Oh, yeah. Honorable mention for me.
I played a lot of console games this year. I think that's why we didn't have a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
I flat out missed some great PC titles.
So we can basically count down a countdown.
I did play your number 5 though, so I can talk to you about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can talk to you about Torment.
Torment Tides of Numenera is my number 5 game of 2017. I did not think it was as good as Planescape Torment. That might have been too high of a standard to set for it.
I'm going to say this, in my opinion. Torment, very good RPG that had some horrible design calls and a terribly clunky interface. The patch that has come out since, it came out about, I want to say, 3 or 4 months after the game dropped, and fixed the combat system.
See, I haven't played that yet.
So I'm going to put it this way. I gave it a 7.5. The patch adds a whole. It's a 9 out of 10 for me now.
Yeah.
I criticized it originally on 3 areas, and the patch literally fixes 2 of those 3 areas, and fixes it to the point where I can't even complain about them anymore.
See, my biggest complaint was the combat and the crisis system, so I might need to go back and try it again.
It's less clunky, faster.
Yeah.
Which is the thing that drove me nuts about the combat. It was so slow, waiting for everyone to do their... It's just faster. It's faster. It's easier to do. So, all that to say, when it dropped, a month after it dropped, I would have probably shrugged hearing that this was going to be on your Game of the Year list, because the original release build of Tides of Numenera, I didn't think it was worthy of even being on someone's top 10. Games of the Year. It is now, though.
Okay.
It is now. I'm with you, because the story was brilliant.
Yeah, it really has some of the best writing. Even in maybe not even in terms of grand plot, but in terms of like the moment to moment writing. The side quests, the just general, the issues the characters have to deal with. It's really brilliant. They had an all-star team writing this. I mean, freaking Patrick.
And they all did a good job.
Yeah.
The characters were incredible. The story was incredible. I love the frequent changes of scenery. I love how it was a game in 3 acts, and each act was like, oh wow.
And I think that's why Numenera was the perfect setting to make a successor to Planescape Torment, because Numenera and Planescape are both very similar in that they're these weird settings where you just have no idea where you're going to end up next. Like, you might be like in an underwater bubble at one point, and then you end up in like a city of clockwork automatons. Like, that's the kind of thing that can happen in both Planescape and in Numenera, and that's why I also thought it had really smart.
One of the hardest things an RPG has to do, like an RPG that's telling a good story. Endings, man. We all know that developers struggle with that.
Yeah.
And hell, storytellers, fiction writers like us, endings are tough. Well, Torment had a satisfying climax. And that, I gotta give them credit. That's hard to do.
I think both Torment games, Planescape and Tides of Numenera, I think they both dodged that bullet of like, oh man, we don't have any idea how to end this, because they set out to answer a question. And neither of them really fully answer that question.
But they make you think about it.
They leave you on a note where you have to contemplate your own answer to that question, and that's why the endings of the Torment duology seem so strong, because they're thought-provoking. It's not like you killed the dragon and it's over now, or
your story doesn't wrap up to a satisfying conclusion. It just concludes.
I mean, I guess Mass Effect tried to do that. Like, they tried to make you think which of the 3 endings was best, but it was also kind of clear that they had decided which one was the best option, because you needed to have a certain amount of war score to unlock it. So that
play it.
Yeah, really good. Real and super overlooked. Like, I think because of some of the technical issues at launch, a lot of people just didn't play it. You got to go play this game. If you're an RPG fan, you got to go play this game.
Play it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. So my number 4 is Steel Division Normandy 44. This is my favorite game to play with friends in 2017. It is from Eugen Systems, who did the War Game series. It's basically larger scale than Company of Heroes, not quite Hearts of Iron, so you're actually looking at a real-time battlefield, but you can have, dozens and dozens of units, all being individually controlled at one time. It's got realistic vision. The terrain was actually created from aerial photos of Normandy that were taken by the U.S. Army Air Corps in World War II, so it's pretty legit. Range and damage is realistic, which has upset a lot of wereaboos, because it turns out the King Tiger is not invincible. It's actually not even anywhere close to the best tank that was fielded in World War II.
It's just fan fiction.
It is.
Like, anyone who thinks it is, it's like, okay, you're in your own world.
Go watch.
The T-34, folks. I mean, again, we're not in the realm of opinion here. We're in the realm of objective fact.
The T-34 was the king of that war, and tank-wise. But
we're not Sorry, Wereaboos. This isn't like a debate. This isn't like a discussion. There are objective facts to these things.
Here's the King Tiger was the person who was playing D&D for the first time and put all of their points into a couple of stats that they thought were going to be important that ended up not being that important.
In the end game. Were
Yeah,
crucially important early. Like, if all you do is be like, all right, strength and constitution, you're gonna romp through the first half of any RPG.
Yeah.
But, try in a Dark Souls game, try investing in strength and life and not stamina.
Yeah.
And see how the later boss battles like Gwyn go for you when a roll makes you exhausted.
Yep. Yeah. Steel Division, I think it's probably the best real-time World War II game. It's the perfect scale to have real-time World War II battles. In order to represent any larger of a theater than what Steel Division gives us, you have to go the super abstract Hearts of Iron route. I enjoyed it quite a lot. The way that they have you build your decks, where like the first phase of the battle, you can only really deploy like recon and light armor and stuff. So if you're playing,
you say it's your favorite game to play with friends.
Yeah, we should
play it with me. I've never even heard of it.
It's much better in multiplayer than it is in single player.
Let's play it because I've never even heard of it.
So you can have divisions like the U.S. 101st Airborne, where they don't have a lot of armor support. But if they take enough ground in that early phase before the armor shows up, it might not even matter because they're going to be dug in and you won't really be able to do anything about it. Love the way that it made intelligence important. I love the way that it made, scouting and spotting important. You can win entire battles just using scouting and spotting.
I'm excited. I can't wait to play this.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a great one if you have like a group of 3 or 4 people where you're each defending like one part of, the front.
Slick.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
What's your number 3?
So my number 3, here's the controversial one. My number 3, my third favorite game I played in 2017, legitimately 100% was Mass Effect Andromeda.
And it would have been my number 6.
Yeah.
Like I fought. The hardest part of me making any of these lists was actually trying to break the tie between my number 5 and Andromeda. So it's right up there with me too.
Yeah.
It was fun, folks.
Well, the way I described it on the web, on the written version on the website, which you can go read, is that yes, it is the worst Mass Effect game, but being the worst Mass Effect game is like putting the worst player in the NFL on the field with a bunch of high school varsity bench warmers. Like it's the fact that
if you want to know what that looks like, go watch serious mascots play Pop Warner.
Yeah.
Right? Like, those little third graders might be the best third grade footballers in the country. But those grown-ass men in tiger and buffalo costumes wreak some serious havoc out there. Like, it's actually an uncomfortable spectacle to watch.
The fact that it's the 4th best Mass Effect game made it still easily one of the best games of the year. It's in that BioWare tradition of, this extremely immaculate world building. It's got this sense of exploration of a new galaxy, which I really liked. Best combat in the series. A lot of people seem to overlook that.
I loved it. I loved being able to swap back and forth between profiles and having all these abilities that I could deploy that easy. I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
I actually think it delivered a lot on the promise of Inquisition's combat. Inquisition started taking combat that direction. I didn't get there.
See, I didn't really like Inquisition's combat.
Inquisition wanted to be this, is my point. It just didn't get there. Mass Effect Andromeda was like, no, we're going to give you the movement, we're going to give you the flexibility, we're going to give you that visceral reactive combat, and it gets there. Actually, if the next Dragon Age game just borrows a swords and spells version of Andromeda's combat, I'll be like, all right, that's done. You can move on to the rest of designing the game now.
See, I still miss the chess combat from Dragon Age Origins. I was super into that, but Andromeda was like the combat was a lot of fun. It had some really good quests. I feel like the Asari arc was one of the highlights of the game.
Some great set pieces. Yeah. You have a photo of one on the asteroid.
Yeah. It's a cool, fun,
I love the mysteries
cinematic
too.
space RPG.
I wish now knowing that the Andromeda-verse is on indefinite hiatus. I wish that the story would have answered more of the questions that I have.
Here's
like, I want to know who left the machines.
Yeah, here's what I think. If it had not been put on hiatus, I think Mass Effect Andromeda 2 would have been one of the best RPGs of all time. Because I've heard about why Mass Effect Andromeda was rough around the edges, the issues that came up during development where they completely had to scrap the original design partway through making it. I think if you had given them the chance to make a sequel with all of this stuff already set in place, it would have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
but even
you know what? Hopefully, because I heard it still sold well, hopefully, once unreasonably hot tempers cool down in a few years, BioWare will come back to this and give us that sequel. I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, just any I said, I said in the article, they could make 10 more games just like Mass Effect Andromeda, and I would play them and love them, and it'd probably end up on my top 10 games of the year, every one of them. I just love the Mass Effect formula. I love the BioWare story-driven RPG formula.
It might be my favorite sci-fi verse. It really might be Mass Effect.
Like, my least favorite BioWare game is Dragon Age 2, and I don't even hate Dragon Age 2.
No, it's fine.
Dragon Age 2 is probably like a 7 out of 10 game. I'm irritated at it for a lot of reasons, but it wasn't terrible. Like,
yes, Andromeda was a great game. It was fun.
Yeah.
And, could you nitpick it to death? Yes. But we don't play Mass Effect games to do that.
Yeah.
Like, some of you might, and that's fair. But when you look at the spot that the original trilogy holds, not only in our critical lists, but in our lives, I was excited to play this game, and it basically delivered.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I specifically did like a Twitter blackout for like 72 hours while I was playing Mass Effect Andromeda. I was like, yeah, that was really good. And then I go on Twitter, and it's like, Wilhelm scream. Like, yeah.
We're not going to talk too much shit about the people who disagree with us.
I understand if you didn't like it. I liked it.
Here's, I guess, what we're saying is we don't feel defensive about this opinion, even though it seems to be in the minority.
Yeah. So my number 2 game of 2017 was Pyre.
Great game. Oh my goodness.
Supergiant.
I'm not done with it yet.
Yeah.
But I think if I finished it, it made my list. Yeah. Great game.
It's fantastic. It's probably their best work. It made me cry at one point.
That's saying something.
That always wins huge points for me. The way that the core gameplay of the Trials was good, but then the way they integrated that with like your championship matches are actually for the fate of a character that you've, known and loved through this entire adventure. That was huge. The way that they made you have to like choose between, do I want to keep my star player around or do I want to grant my friend their freedom?
Yeah.
Like it was so brilliant. Darren Korb's soundtrack for it is my favorite album of 2017. Not just video game music in general. It's amazing. I've listened to it 100 times. The character design is really awesome. Brianna actually bought some stuff on Etsy specifically because she loved the color scheme, in Pyre. It's actually the highest numerical review score. I know I always shit talk review scores, but if you care about numerical review scores, it is the highest numerical review score I've ever given in my time as a professional game reviewer.
Play it. It's great.
Yeah, I gave it a 97, and I had to be talked down from a 10. So that is
I don't know that I'd give it a 10 out of 10 so far, but a 97 sounds about right. It's brilliant.
The editor who talked to me about it totally had good points on why it should not have been a 10, but 97 I still stand behind.
I would stand behind it too. That's about what I'd give it. Brilliant game.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Play it.
Yeah.
Play it. Here's the thing, right? I give this lecture, I feel like, once every 6 months, but I'm going to give it again because I believe it. Art is important. Mm-hmm. Games are important.
Yeah.
Stories and books are important, right? Most of the people who make them are like us. They live in apartments like we live in, which I love our apartment. It's a nice apartment, but we're not living in a mansion, right? We're not like the President of the United States, okay? Nothing. We don't have gold-plated toilet bowls. We're creators who want to make things. right? And that's what these guys are too.
Yeah.
The studio might have money, but the studio is a corporate entity that employs hundreds of people who make like 40 grand a year. Buy these games. Support these people so they can make more.
Yeah.
Support these little creators. Like, I mean, if Bastion didn't sell well, that could have been it.
Yeah.
We could have not gotten Transistor or Pyre, and that, oh my goodness, they're both stronger than Bastion. So it's like, what a crime that would have been. Support these guys, man. Not every studio is BioWare.
Support your local indie shop.
Yes, if you buy tabletop games and you don't want to get the PDF, you want to actually get the hardbound copy, go buy them from your local store, man.
Yep.
And you'll hear that rant 2 or 3 times a year from me. It's just, it's important.
It is.
It's important. You know the difference you make? Here's the thing, man.
Casey, do you know what difference it makes when you support indie game creators?
She's like, I don't have economic agency or a social security number.
Nor would I be able to appreciate the themes nor the gameplay of any of these pieces of software.
Yep.
Casey's game of the year was
Ball.
cheddar cheese.
Ball. See ball roll.
Yeah.
Roll, ball, roll.
Chase squirrels. Yes.
Yeah, no, this is not a massive studio. Buy their work. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's good.
It is probably the best argument out there right now for games are art. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah, guys. So yeah, that's my rant.
Yeah.
My game of the year number 5 has nothing to do with support small studios. My game of the year number 5 is one of the largest studios on the planet.
Yeah.
Bungie's Destiny 2. Is it perfect? No. Is it some of the most fun I've ever had picking up a controller? Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Butter smooth, fun combat that just addicts you. Well-designed quest, a single player worth playing, which Destiny 1 did not have until The Taken King. And it's just so much fun playing with my friends.
Yeah.
Like, I could pick up a game of Destiny with some of my old high school buddies and my brother-in-law, and we could just go kick wholesale ass in a glorious, epic sci-fi fantasy universe, and the time disappears from you. And that's where ultimately it came on this list for me, is I don't think it's the best game I played this year, but I think it might be the most fun I had this year. Certainly, like your category with Normandy 1944, like certainly the most fun I had with friends this year. Destiny takes up the torch that Overwatch did on my last list, in that I just found myself eager to come home and play more. I have played hundreds of hours of it, and I've only owned it for 4 months. So
Nice.
Call that what it is. I'm an addict. It's beautiful. It's well designed. Its flaws are the flaws that typically crop up in an online game. Like, the quest design can get a little fetchy. You can kind of run out of stuff to do around the end game. But the stuff that the game has at its core, partying with friends, fighting epic enemies, having a good time in amazing locales that are just sumptuous feasts for the senses, it hits a home run on every single one of them. Just
I'm definitely going to be checking that out for sure.
We're going to play together.
Yeah.
We're going to found a fire team. It's going to be great. My number 4, Hellblade. I went back
number 1 game I missed.
I went back and forth on this because I'm just going to come out with my criticism because I think it's important to get this out. It's not a good game. Like, the combat is clunky. The explanation is kind of monotone. The exploration, it's kind of monotone. Yeah. It's and that's like the Beyond Two Souls debate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a game, right?
Yeah.
As an experience, though, holy crap. Like, mind-warping, mind-melting. First of all, so beautiful. So beautiful. Oh my god, so beautiful. You wouldn't think a studio that small could make a game that looks this good, but they did. Wow.
Which I think is important, because we need more games that are this high fidelity coming from smaller studios.
The story. It's the second best story I played all year. I cried multiple times.
Yeah.
I had to put the controller down for stress breaks. Not because of horror, but just because I felt sinuous pain and her struggle. It's respectful stance towards mental illness and personal struggle. At no point is she less for what she's going through on her journey. She's heroic. She's more. She's a survivor. I love it. As a reasonably healthy guy who's watched a lot of other people, I'm fairly neurotypical, but most of my friends and family aren't.
Heyo.
Yeah, and from what I've watched as a neurotypical person,
Yeah,
and what I've watched other people's struggles emotionally and mentally be, to play a game like this, it moved me. It moved me to tears. It was impossibly beautiful. And when I ended, I'll tell you this, I never want to play it again. I never want to play that story through a second time.
Yeah.
I want my impressions of what I did when I played it the first time to be my impressions of this game. I'm so glad I played it.
Yeah.
That's why it's my number 4. Impossibly beautiful, impossibly important. And I don't want to spoil it too much. This of all my games, like, you pick a game on your game of year list that's important, that's like a must play.
Yeah.
I'd probably pick Hellblade. I think that this is a game that humanity should play.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to playing it. A game that deals respectfully with mental illness and is written by a PhD in Norse mythology is like a game made for TJ, basically. So I'm ashamed I missed it.
I blubbered like a baby through this game, and you kind of got to go to books to find like games that or stories that drew a similar level of emotional response from me. I'll put it this way. I finished this game. I'll never forget, at 6:39 p.m. The day I finished it, and I made phone calls after playing it, just to tell some people that I loved them and that I respected them and how much they meant to me. And so it's even making me tear up a little bit here. Play the game.
That is high praise, and I definitely will.
Play the game. Support this studio. I want to see what comes next from them so bad.
Yeah.
Like if this is what we saw, God, I want to see the next game they make.
Yeah.
My number 3, Divinity Original Sin 2. Serious, man. My top 3 could have shaken out in any order.
Yeah.
Divinity 2, when I first mocked up this list, I had to sit down and score my top 3 so I could come up with an order. Divinity Original Sin 2 is my original choice for Game of the Year. Like when I mentally mocked this list up, I was like, and Divinity will probably be my number 1. It's better in every way than the incredible Original Sin 1. It is the only game that has come close to approximating what you get when you sit down to a game of D&D with your buds.
Yeah.
Yep. You don't have quite the freedom, obviously, that you do in a tabletop game. I think that's a good thing. When I would play Dungeons and Dragons, I would play with a group of storytellers I deeply respected, whose brains and minds for fiction I was very high on. And there would be me and another guy who were RPG players and game players and writers who would just be overjoyed to play our Dungeon Master's story. Like, I cannot wait to play. And then there would be the other 3 or 4 who would want to go conquer some random country somewhere, who would steal from literally every person we walk by on the street. And I'm going to put it this way. It's why I don't like Dungeons & Dragons. It's why it's never going to be my first choice for an RPG. It's almost tainted to me because of that pure level of freedom. I never got to the good shit in any campaign. What Divinity Original Sin 2 does is it places just enough boundaries on you to keep you in this brilliant story and this beautiful world. Just enough. So you can't be like, screw Rivalon, I'm going to go to another continent and conquer the pygmy population and have them worship me as their sun king. You can't do that. But I argue that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And the story that Divinity tells, so good. So good. So good. And the freedom that it gives you. The opening level, right? For the fort that you have to escape from. You can do that in damn near any way you want. And that is so cool. To be honest, like, it actually, the game took me a long time to beat because the sheer scope of options you've got in any given area, and it's a huge game, kind of paralyzes you at first. But once you kind of get into it, start exploring what you can do, start getting a full appreciation for the breadth and depth of your powers and the effect they can have on the NPCs and on the environment, it's just a blast. This game is fun from beginning to end. It's the best Western RPG of the year. Yeah. I
actually am looking forward to playing this one. I famously, perhaps better to say notoriously, bounced off of the original Sin. It just wasn't for me.
Here's the thing. I can understand.
Weirdly enough.
I can understand why someone would bounce off of.
Here's the thing: I had a discussion with Richard Cobbett, who's another huge RPG head. He writes about RPGs for PC Gamer all the time. We went through comprehensively everything I didn't like about Original Sin 1, and he was like, "Oh yeah, they fixed that. They fixed that. They fixed that. No, yeah, you're gonna love this game. They totally fixed that."
I'd love to play Original Sin 2 with you.
Yeah,
because I beat the game with friends.
Well,
like as a RPG party, right? It's like tabletop.
One of the biggest problems I had with Original Sin 1 that I've been told is fixed in Original Sin 2, at least depending on how you choose to start the game off, is I don't know who I am or what I'm about or why I should care. Original Sin 2, apparently, they tell you a bit more about your character.
A lot more.
Where they came from,
Yeah.
what their motivations are. Like, I feel like that by itself would allow me to build up enough...
You can create a character who's perfectly original, and you can give him a background, and the story immediately makes you care about his or her plight.
Yeah.
Or you can pick one of 5 pre-designed characters who are as well-written as any BioWare character. So...
I think that by itself might allow me to not bounce off of Original Sin.
Let's play that. Let's play this one together. It's like I said. It fits best. It goes down smoothest, like cognac. It goes down smoothest when it's played like a tabletop game.
Yeah.
Right. So when you get it, we should just get some pizza and play it as a party, and it's so much fun.
All right.
I played it with a friend of mine, and he called it one of the most fun he's ever had playing multiplayer.
Nice.
And I mean, it doesn't supplant Overwatch for me, but that it even threatened that perch.
Yeah.
And I got to a very high level in Overwatch, so that it even threatened that perch says a lot.
All right.
It's incredible.
Going on the list.
Masterpiece. My number 2, edged out Divinity only by virtue of the main character, which was not a character. Horizon Zero Dawn is possibly the most engaging, fascinating, I don't want to leave world I have ever been in a video game. The world is the main character.
Yeah.
This post-apocalyptic, natural, sumptuous feast for the eyes that you just... It's varied, and it's massive, and you can travel almost anywhere you can see, and...
So what's going on here? Like, why are there giant robot giraffes everywhere? Like, what's
massive spoilers there?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the story thoroughly answers the question as to how this world ended up in this state.
You're thrown in without a lot of explanation.
Almost none. You're actually thrown in with a great mystery. Like, you see a moment in the main character's childhood that becomes the defining mystery of her adulthood. And as she embarks on what is actually a very clever but very stock hero's journey, you learn not only answers about yourself, your destiny, and what happened to you on that night where the game begins when she's a child, but you also learn about the fate of the world and how it got in this state. And it is one of the coolest post-apocalyptic sci-fi yarns I've ever played.
Nice.
The story is very strong. The world, though. Like, what you're talking about Breath of the Wild and some of our private conversations, like, I'm having so much fun being in Hyrule.
Yeah.
And I'm even having a hard time focusing on the main quest because I'm just enjoying Hyrule.
Yeah.
That was Horizon Zero Dawn for me.
Gotcha.
I knew I was playing something special when I just was kind of running around hunting robots and spending time in this beautiful world and not really doing anything quest-related for about 10 hours at one point, and I didn't care. Like, it's just a fucking playground. And that is some of the highest praise I can sing about a setting. It's one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. Mm-hmm. One of the most fun games I've ever played. And a damn fine and well-written and well-acted story. And that's my number 2.
Nice. All right, so... Before we hit my Game of the Year, I do want to shout out my honorable mentions real quick, which were Ultimate General Civil War, which we both enjoyed quite a bit. Taking the Ultimate General formula and adding a campaign to that actually had,
I still fool around with it.
Resource management and stuff. Very, very, very cool. The combat system's great for that era of warfare. Definitely looking forward to seeing where that series goes in the future. The Long Dark, which is a terrific survival game. Probably one of the best that's to come around in a while.
I've just started it. Love it so far. Can't wait to dive into it.
Highly punishing. Like, you're going to get your ass kicked no matter how smart you think you are, the first time you load it up. But once you actually get the hang of it, it's sort of like Don't Starve in that sense, that it's a highly punishing survival game, but every new frontier that you achieve, it really feels like an achievement because you worked your ass off for it. And Expeditions Viking, which is a historical Viking RPG that actually did, I needed to give it at least an honorable mention because it did one of the best jobs of portraying Vikings in a historically plausible manner of any game I've played in a very long time. In terms of staying away from stereotypes, there are a couple stereotypes, but making it about this kind of prestige-based political world that the Norsemen lived in, where a lot of it was about blood feuds and family politics.
Shoot, man,
and
I've only heard about this game in passing. I want to play it.
Having to do I show mercy on this guy because I want to feel like a good person, or do what I ended up doing, I need to kill him because I need to seem strong or I'm going to lose my entire kingdom. Like, it's stuff that an actual Viking leader would have actually had to think about. Which I thought was pretty cool.
I don't know that I wrote my honorable mentions down, but I do have a few. Mass Effect Andromeda being the big one.
Yep.
The big one. I would definitely... I'm trying to think of what order I'd put them in here. I'd probably throw me some Dark Souls 3 on there. Oh, wait, no, Dark Souls 3 was last year. Sorry, the expansion. Sorry. Ashes of Ariandel, I believe.
We really could have done...
And the Ring City.
We could have easily done a best expansions category this year. There were a lot of good expansions.
We've given, like, Witcher Blood and Wine that treatment, so I'll give it that treatment. I thought that Dark Souls expansions made Dark Souls 3 a better game. And made it arguably the best of the three.
See, I still haven't finished Ring City yet, but Ashes of Ariandel was very good.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
And let me think here. What else? What else would I give as an honorable mention?
I mean, we talked about Neo. We've played a little bit of that.
You know what? I bet you that'll be on there. Yeah. That's a good call. There's too many, honestly, but Neo will probably be up there.
Yeah.
For the best combat system I think I've ever
because
played.
that is one thing. For honorable mentions, we don't have to have finished it.
That's fair.
That's a reason that Long Dark is on here and not on my top 5 because I didn't actually. I mean, I played a fair bit of it, but
that's fair.
Near enough.
Let's go to Games of the Year, man.
So my number 1 game of the year, Total War Warhammer 2.
Which is awesome game.
Yeah, Creative Assemblies, just linking them together. My game of the year last year was Total War Warhammer. Total War Warhammer 2 is my game of the year this year. It's kind of an across-the-board improvement in almost every area.
I would agree with that. It's a better game.
The interface is so much better than the Total War 1 interface. The factions they added they're like exactly what was missing from the mix in Total War Warhammer 1. You know, we didn't have this like martial excellence race like the High Elves. We didn't have like a sneaky, slinky race like the Skaven. Lizard Men are super cool and different. Dark Elves managed to be like as far from a reskin of High Elves as you can possibly get, so they're their own thing. I really liked how the Eye of the Vortex campaign added narrative.
Yeah.
Attila,
by the way,
Attila fooled around with that, but Eye of the Vortex and Warhammer 2 is really the only...
By the way, we put stuff on hiatus to begin Project Grayson and to get some professional stuff in order. Our High Elves Total Warhammer 2 series is coming back. Yep. We won't give you a date, but soon. Expect it soon.
And Tomb Kings are out in January. We're going to have to fool around with that in some capacity. So
yeah. It's coming.
Yeah, definitely more Warhammer stuff on the channel. Expect it. So the way that they made the end game interesting and meaningful in the Vortex campaign in a way that no Total War game has really managed to accomplish.
The Mortal Empires map, which is one of the coolest things any strategy game has ever done ever.
Like, it's just an achievement. The Mortal Empires map is the sort of thing that, like... And I think I said this about the original Total War Warhammer as well, but it's even more true now that we have Mortal Empires. It's the sort of thing where, like, you and your friends would, like, sit around and describe a video game that's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if someone did this? Oh, but it would be too technically complicated. Nobody has the time or the money. No, they actually did it, and it's actually awesome.
It's so massive as to almost be intimidating.
And it's going to keep getting bigger as the crazy part. Like, as they add more races and more regions to the map.
So cool.
Yeah, it's the game I had the most fun playing in 2017, flat out. That was my barometer for breaking the sort of like 5-way tie between my favorite games this year. Is what did I have the most fun with? It was Total War Warhammer 2. Fantastic game.
Yeah.
And
look for more content from us from that. The High Elf series is coming back. We're playing around with the Tomb Kings.
Yeah. That's going to be probably a semi-staple on the channel for quite some time to come.
Looking forward to...
We love that sort of battlefield,
Yep, in addition
armchair general shit, yeah.
In addition to, when some big changes come to some Paradox favorites, we'll be right there with new series for that.
We are going to be so on top of the Stellaris expansion when it comes out. Completely redoing Warfare and making it actually good. That's like...
Oh, yeah.
That's the LSO expansion. That's like, here, TJ and DM, we made this one specifically for you.
Have fun. All right. So, my game of the year. It's almost hard to talk about. It's so brilliant. Persona 5. Atlas has come out with the greatest JRPG of all time. You can go down any category in gaming and find a 10 out of 10. Find an absolute home run. The sound and the music. It's got one of the most addictive sort of Japanese anime-style soundtracks I've ever heard. Epic in places, pop and funky in places, just addictive. These songs run through your mind in the best way all day. I right up there with like you listen to Pyre, the album 100 times. I've listened to the Persona 5 OST. It's one of the only gaming OSTs I've ever paid for. I didn't only buy the Pyre soundtrack, I bought the shit out of the Pyre soundtrack. I was like clicking that button like, motherfucker, take my money. Same with me for the Persona 5. It was one of the first things I did upon beating the game. Yeah. I ordered that shit. It wasn't cheap, but worth it. The gameplay takes everything that has made Persona series just so brilliant over the years and cranks it up to 11, to borrow a Spinal Tap phrase. It's all the stuff you love, the tactical, fun, fast-paced, turn-based combat. It's just creative enough to break almost any JRPG mold. Makes it even quicker, makes it even funner, makes it even deeper with now it's got gun damage and nuclear damage and psychic techniques, and so it adds a whole new element to the original. The dungeon design, arguably the only thing that was a weakness in Persona 3 and Persona 4.
That is one thing I noticed when I watched you play Persona 4. The dungeon layouts looked pretty boring.
This now each dungeon is its own world. This own almost like Zelda-esque puzzle world that you've got to explore and funk your way around in. You got new special powers that exist in that game world, right? You've got an intriguing cast of characters. Each one, well, I'll put it that way. So I've described the gameplay of like the core Persona 5. Now, get out of the cognitive world and back in the real world of modern day Tokyo. Alongside every Persona game exists a modern fantasy story and a life simulator, a visual novel / dating sim, essentially, that is better than any competitor on the market. You could take all supernatural elements at all out of Persona 5 and you'd have had a damn fine game, a damn fine visual novel, damn fine story. This is the most intense story Persona has ever tried to tell. It deals with real dark and adult themes and about these characters who are, by and large, 17, grappling with all that's ugly in the world. And the whole theme of the story is, how do you keep your spirit? How do you make a positive impact? What makes a hero? Which is very similar to the themes of my first novels.
I was gonna say.
So, what keeps you invested in the world and not descending down the path that so many people who've lost their way have? Each character is so well written, so three-dimensional, so deep, that as they coalesce into your gang, just like in Persona 4, it's the same thing that happened in Persona 4, you mourn the credits because you've lost friends. You're never going to get to see those things for the first time again. New Game Plus, I'm playing it, it's a blast. But meeting those characters, introducing yourself to them, playing a character and the main character who you have control over, if you decide to have him fall in love with one of them. Like that first time when it's fresh, it feels real. That's how well written it is. It feels real. It feels borderline nostalgic. Like back into the best days of high school and college. and you mourn. It hurts. It was the same thing that happened to me in Persona 4. I didn't want it to end. I felt real pain. It was like, I love these guys. I love this little clan of misfits, man.
I've felt that way about RPGs.
They're my buds. Sure. They're my buds, and I don't want them to go. But what we accomplished together in the confines of this story will stick with me forever. It's not only the best JRPG of all time, taking that spot from Chrono Trigger, in my opinion. I think Persona 5 would probably end up in my top 15 or top 10 games ever list.
Yeah.
It tells a beautiful story. Every element of the game design and the gameplay itself is masterful. From the writing to the sound to the gameplay to the dating sim elements to the settings and the colors and it's just, yeah, kind of just like how Ocarina of Time, it's like, find a way this game isn't a 10 out of 10 in context. Back in 1998 when you're reviewing it, find me a way that Persona 5 isn't at least like a 9.8, if not a 10 in all categories.
Yeah.
It's just near perfection all the way across the palette, and I'm so glad I played it. And so great. So great.
Nice. Yeah, we should probably do is we should do a console swap. Like when I'm done with Mario and Zelda, I'll just hand that off to you and let you play those, and I'll play Persona and Horizon and the stuff I missed.
I'd have to rebuy Horizon as I have since traded it for GameStop credit. But yeah, that is one of the one of the games you've got to play. Yeah, that sounds fun. We should do that later this year.
Definitely.
I think that'd be a fun talk shop topic.
Yeah.
But now for the most fun but shortest element of the list, even on a special edition talk shop podcast, we're just going to talk real quick about the games we're excited for.
Yeah, so our most anticipated games of 2018.
The games we're watching the calendar for the release date.
Also, interestingly enough, we didn't have any overlap on this year. So my number 5 is Age of Empires 4. Largely, it's number 5 because we know absolutely nothing about it except that Relic.
That's why it didn't make my list.
Right. But I'm excited to see what Relic does with Age of Empires. I'm an Age of Empires fan. Age of Empires 3 was not my favorite.
But Mythology and 2
But Age of Mythology was
classics.
Amazing. Age of Empires 2 is a classic. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with this. Even though Dawn of War 3 was also not really my favorite, I have liked almost everything else that Relic did. So, Number 4, Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire.
That would have been my number 6. I'm so excited for this game.
It looks... I love that we're going to get to follow the continuing adventures of our Watcher from Pillars 1.
That would have been a mistake to do it any differently.
Yeah, some of the same party members are going to show up.
And it sounds like the one weakness I thought that Pillars of Eternity had was I didn't connect or marry with the story maybe as deeply as I could.
Well, did you end up playing all the White March stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
But I ended up...
That's what I'm super curious about, because...
I ended up feeling like I was a heroic player in a grand tale that was bigger than me, which is valid for an RPG, but it didn't have the kind of immediate intimacy to my story and to my party member's story that I think truly elevates the great RPGs.
My number one criticism, with Pillars of Eternity is I don't remember very much about how the choices my player character made affected the world until White March. Ending of White March Part 2, I'm not sure how that's going to jive with a sequel. There's so much they would have to change based on what you decide to do at the end of White March Part 2. But I guess we'll see how they decide to handle that.
What Deadfire does is it brings back Aethys, which is one of the coolest things in the story.
He was fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. And now there's immediacy to the story. You've got to chase down this god to get your soul back. Eder, that's his god. You know what I mean? There's a lot. There's that immediacy, that intimacy that the first story was lacking.
Well, that's another thing that makes me want to do multiple Pillars 1 playthroughs before I start Pillars 2. Because in my initial playthrough of Pillars 1, Eder kind of lost his faith at the end because of what we discovered and how I chose to present it to him. But then I'd love to also do a playthrough of Pillars 2, assuming that he stayed super hardcore religious, in the first game. It's going to be really interesting.
I'm psyched.
I love that it's, the higher visual fidelity, I've said before, the only thing that keeps games, the only major thing that keeps this new wave of indie RPGs from, measuring up for me to something like Dragon Age Origins is they're not as immersive. It's top down. It's fairly rudimentary
but
graphical
now,
style.
Despite the fact that it had its own flaws, Tyranny fixed many of those things.
Tyranny was fucking great.
And what I'm seeing from Pillars of Eternity 2 is, let's take all that's good about Pillars 1 and all that was good about Tyranny, and let's take another shot at a new, modern, old-school classic.
Yeah.
And I just have a feeling, like, in my bones that they're going to do it. I think this is going to be the game that puts the cherry on top of the sundae of this top-down, return to the old school craze, and I'm so excited for that experience.
I'm really looking forward to it. So my number 3, Harebrained Schemes BattleTech.
I love Harebrained Schemes.
Dragonfall, one of my favorite RPGs of the last 10 years, easily. I love the way they're structuring this, where you are the commander of a mercenary company. You have to hire the mech warriors. You have to buy the mechs. You have to upgrade the mechs. They're going to have a mission system where it's like it's flexible in the sense of like, do you want to just go down and accomplish the basic objective and maybe not take any losses, or are you going to invest a little harder, maybe lose a mech, maybe lose a pilot to accomplish a higher tier objective, and you have to balance that out. Like, does this make sense for my business that I'm running?
I'm not as into the BattleTech world, but I love Harebrained Schemes, and I trust that they're going to deliver a wonderful product.
It's great. It's got neo-feudal politics. The main quest is going to have to do with like a deposed noble that you have to help out. Everything I've seen of it so far, I got to play a little hands-on with the tactical map, not with the strategic layer at ParadoxCon, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Shoot, I'm excited.
Yeah, and if it has like the quality of writing that they've had in their Shadowrun games, man, I'm there. I'm so there. Number 2, also potentially could be called number 1 game that is actually likely to come out in 2017.
Yes, exactly. Or 2018.
2018. Total War Saga: Thrones of Britannia. This is just right up my alley. It's the Attila engine. Attila is probably my favorite historical Total War game. I like that they're doing a smaller focus, so it's going to be the British Isles, but there's going to be as many provinces in the British Isles as there were on the entire campaign map for Total War Rome 2. So it's a much smaller scale.
Not to mention, man, the whole medieval feudal struggle in the British Isles.
Viking Age,
so interesting.
Viking Age Britain, like that's my shit right there. Like if I had to pick 2 historical eras that are my favorite to play around in, one of them would be like the Germanic invasions, the collapse of the Roman Empire, and the creation of like the new Germanic kingdoms after that collapse. Number 2 would be Viking Age Britain, like easily, or the Viking Age North Sea region, more or less. So it's going to be really cool. Really great era. I love what they're talking about doing, where like raiding is going to be more important. Like you're going to have these larger walled settlements, but your smaller ones are going to be more vulnerable.
And you've got a raid to get income.
You won't be able to defend everything, which is, I think, that should be like a fundamental principle of good strategy game design. Like you have to create a situation where the player can't,
and you can't punish the player for that, like Stellaris did before they decided to fix it. You can't punish the player for not wanting to have an all or nothing.
Yeah.
You've got to broaden the picture. So this is going to be a good one. I'm with you.
So my number 1 most anticipated game of maybe 2018.
Yeah, hope.
It wasn't on my 2017 list at all because I was like, there's no fucking way this game is coming out in 2017. Right now they're saying 2018. Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord. Mountain Blade Warband is the embryo of my perfect game. It's not there yet. It's not fully grown. But the concept of Mountain Blade Bannerlord is the embryo of what would be my perfect grand strategy experience. So Bannerlord carrying that on further, maybe turning it from an embryo into a feudal warfare fetus, so to speak. I'm very excited for this game. I think it has the potential to suck hours from my life in a way that very few other games.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. The original Mountain Blades are so janky. Like, so janky.
They're janky as shit.
This game isn't going to be. Like, they have the resources, the team size, the coding talent.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be AAA, I hate that term. It's going to be AAA stuff, though.
Yeah, I mean, it looks fantastic. Yeah.
When you marry that level of execution with the concept behind the Mountain Blade series, this could be special. Yeah. This really could be special.
It could be like the jump between Europa Universalis 3 and Europa Universalis 4, where it's like we're in Big Boy Land now, and holy shit, I'm loving every second.
This is a game changer.
Yeah,
Right on, man.
Really looking forward to it. My honorable mentions: Sunless Skies from the team that did
Sunless Sea, which is an underrated little
really
gem.
Great narrative. It's another one of those where the gameplay is not amazing, but the writing is so good that it's definitely worth your time to check it out.
It's a gem.
Kingdom Come Deliverance, which I've just recently started doing some reading about. It seems like it's playing with some interesting ideas.
Yeah, true medieval RPG, no fantasy at all.
The other one is on your list, so we will talk about it momentarily.
Yep, my picks. Okay, so first of which, God of War. This game looks to be what a reboot should be.
Yeah.
It doesn't retcon, it reboots.
Yeah.
So we have the God of War games hold a special spot in my heart. They are amazing action, hack and slash, just stunning visuals, epic cutscenes, epic fights, and it's just fun to take. It was just a blast to take Kratos through this world of Greek mythology and just kill everything.
Yeah,
because that's what it is. You just kill everything.
Yeah,
from Hercules up to Zeus, you just kill everything, and it's glorious. God of War looks to tell an actual intimate story, which the original God of War doesn't, by having this father-son mechanic. It doesn't retcon the bloodbath of Kratos' journey through the first 6 or 7 God of War games. He's an older man haunted by what he's done, and now he's got a whole new mythological land to traverse through. He's in Scandinavia, and he's going to deal with Norse mythology.
Yeah, that's
going to be cool.
That I'm very excited
when he meets Jormungandr and the cutscene that they've showed from the game, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is the best of God of War. This is the best. This is going to deliver so many cool things, and I have a lot more affection for Norse mythology than I do Greek. So I'm super excited. And the combat system looks to have taken what was good from the PS2 generation, and it's still awesome.
Yeah.
Like, harder hitting, brutal. You don't have the Blades of Chaos anymore.
Well, and it seems like it's like the whole franchise has kind of grown up a little bit.
Yes.
Like there was a little bit of like edgelordness going on in the original God of War games that I feel like they've kind of left that behind. And
well, I forget where I read it, but somebody compared it to like, it's looking like they're trying for a Logan thing.
Yeah.
Like taking this like action hero, aging him up, and putting him in an intense story for his very life and soul.
Yeah.
And my response to that is, if God of War does to Kratos what Logan did to Wolverine, this can only be brilliant.
Yeah.
It can only be brilliant.
My theory is that this kid is going to be the protagonist going forward in like the Norse.
We sure will see.
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty good bet.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good bet. My number 4, will it come out in 2018? They say it will.
Yes.
I strongly suspect at least one delay is coming, but that might not push it out of 2018. So Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The new Spider-Man. A Spider-Man game that is supposed to return to the glory days of Spider-Man 2. Like
Spider-Man 2, one of the best superhero video games ever.
I think a grand contender for the
it's up there with like Arkham Asylum, basically. Yeah.
Everything I've seen and everything I've heard about this game shows that what is coming is a near perfect Spider-Man title, and this generation's Arkham. This generation's this is a superhero game. I think I'm gonna lose hundreds of hours. Because I love Spider-Man,
and it's Insomniac. They do good work. Like, when was the last bad Insomniac game you played?
I don't think I played one. I love Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I'm more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy. I always have been. And Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel superhero. I mean, Superman's my favorite superhero. Yeah, but Spider-Man's my favorite Marvel superhero.
We were playing Spider-Man 64 like back in the day. That was like one of the first. Yeah.
So I'm nerding out over this. I'm gonna have I love that it deals with a mature competent Peter Parker in his late 20s, veteran Spider-Man, because Insomniac says they want to tell a mature, serious Spider-Man story with what I think their phrase was mortally high stakes.
Yeah.
Which, from a company as good at writing as Insomniac, I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. So I'm psyched for this one.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So number 3, Red Dead Redemption 3.
There's one reason this is not on my list anywhere.
Could it be
because Rockstar needs to start porting these goddamn games to PC. They're not exclusives. You didn't sign an exclusivity deal. It's just laziness. Bring Red Dead to PC now. All right, that's it.
Red Dead, not Reed Dead. Not Red Dead Redemption.
Oh yeah, I need to go in and fix that.
Not Red Dead. That's funny.
It's dead that has been read. I will go in and fix that typo as soon as we get done.
I'm glad it was there though. That's funny. Yeah. That's really funny. Dead has been read. Yes. Red Dead Redemption is one of the greatest games of all time.
Oh yeah, tell me how great it is.
One of the greatest games of all time.
I never got to play it.
It's better than any Grand
because
Theft
it didn't
Auto
come
game.
to PC.
It's one of the great. It's better than any Grand Theft Auto game.
Yeah.
It's the best Western game ever been conceived, much less ever been made.
Oh, you mean like Grand Theft Auto, like the ones that always get ported to PC, unlike Red Dead Redemption?
Oh, I know. Yeah. They're holding back their best work for console players.
Come on.
There aren't words for how good Red Dead Redemption is. It's currently my number 6 game of all time. It has a beautiful story.
Yeah.
One of the best westerns ever told. Like, this is some John Wayne quality shit.
Yeah.
Irrespective of genre, irrespective of medium. Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't know a lot about it. They're keeping tight-lipped on a lot of the core concepts they'll flesh it out more. It can't be bad. And if it is on the level of Red Dead Redemption 1, you're talking about a top 10 game of all time about to be dropped. How can you not anticipate that? That said, I have a tremendous amount of skepticism that this will come out in 2018. I think it's in for 1, if not 2 delays.
Yeah.
Just because this is the modus operandi of games like this. I hope it drops in 2018, but Rockstar, take your time. Man, I want this game to be what it should be, which the promise of a Red Dead Redemption 2 is the promise of a legend. It's the promise of a legendary all-time great title. And I'm talking like all-time great title, like top 10, top 12 game ever. Which, how could you not anticipate that? It's just, it dropped on my list because I don't know that I anticipate that it will drop in 2018.
Yeah.
I actually don't think it will. So
put it on PC, motherfuckers. All right. That's it. That's number
two.
all I'm going to do.
Vampire.
This was an honorable mention for me. It was on my top 5 last year. The only reason it slipped to honorable mention is because I've heard like nothing new about it. But, over the course of 2017.
My whole thing with this, I love World of Darkness. I love urban fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I love survival horror.
Yeah.
This game kind of looks like to be a marriage of everything I enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's one of those games that I might enjoy it more than even the quality of the game.
Well, and we're due for a good vampire game. Like the last good vampire game was Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Patched Bloodlines.
Patched with the fan patch, and if you play it today, you probably want to get some graphical update mods for that too. But yeah. That was the last truly good vampire game. It's been too damn long.
Yeah, we're due, and I'm excited. Like I said, this is the type of game I can tell it's going to have more mileage with me than it will for most other people, and that's why I anticipate it so much. It's just so much of my shit is rolled into this, for lack of a better way of saying. I'm so excited.
Nice.
I love the morality system. I love it. It's very World of Darkness. Like the more you feed, the more powerful your vampire is, but the more effed up your world and your personal situation becomes as you feed the beast.
Yeah.
I love that. It's a great mechanic. It's part of the game design that made World of Darkness so great, is you have to juggle the power of your PC with its monstrousness. That's true in Werewolf, that's true in Changeling, that's true in Mage, that's true in Vampire. Yep. I love it. Yeah. And this game is attempting a mechanic like that, so I'm excited.
Nice.
And my number 1, again, doubt it comes out in 2018, but they say it's gonna, Anthem. Now, this sounds like BioWare's answer to Destiny. My response to that is, I respect BioWare as a developer more than Bungie. BioWare's version of Destiny could be staggeringly good. And at the very minimum, it's going to be damn entertaining. The gameplay videos I've seen, I love the exosuits. I love the Iron Man shit you've got going on, where you are literally just flying around this gorgeous world, dropping in for combat, collecting things, loot grabs, updating and enhancing your own suit of Iron Man-esque like power armor. I love it. It looks awesome. And I'm still all aboard the BioWare train, man. Inquisition was good. Andromeda was good. I still think they're rolling.
I'm still on board the BioWare train. The reason that I have zero expectations for this, and I'll preface it by saying if Anthem turns out to be amazing, I'll be the happiest person in the room. I have no expectations for it at this point for a couple of reasons. One is I don't know that you can tell the type of stories that make me fall in love with BioWare stories in this open world shared space. I feel like the amount of impact that your personal adventure could have on the world in a world that's set up that way is going to be extremely limited, and that would kind of bum me out. If it wasn't like a typical BioWare game where I'm making choices that have major impacts on the setting.
You haven't played through the main story of Destiny 2
True,
yet.
true.
Like, this is possible.
The other thing is, and I've used this analogy before, if not on this podcast, then on another podcast. It's like hearing that Led Zeppelin was going to reunite to make an EDM album. Like, there's nobody else doing. Part of why Andromeda is still one of my 5 favorite games of this year is because nobody is doing the kind of stuff BioWare is doing to the quality that they're doing it. So to hear them that they're doing something completely different to me is like it feels like a waste. Like, I'd rather that you made another Dragon Age game or another Mass Effect game because I
think they will. I think it's good for them to develop a new IP and to take a little bit of a break, though. I think it's good to let Mass Effect and Dragon Age breathe for a year or two.
And that's true. Like, so I'll definitely play it. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna go in with no expectations, positive or negative. And if it turns out to be one of the most amazing games ever, I will be one of the happiest people in the room.
I will say this. It looks to me like they were inspired by Destiny, at least a little bit. Play Destiny. I think you'll be more optimistic for this game after you do.
Okay.
Like a lot of your criticisms, Destiny 2 actually does very well, and it'll show you how. I get it. It's difficult to conceive of, but they do a great job of making you the big damn hero in a shared space.
Okay.
It's pretty awesome. So, yep. That is our 2017, the best of what we wish we could play and what we're gonna get on playing as soon as possible.
We've already started. Yeah.
And what we hope comes in 2018. No coincidence that most of what we anticipate, we expect will get bumped. But we'll see, man. It's gonna be a great year. And here's what I love. Games like Pyre are going to come in under the radar and just blow our minds. Like, who knows what our 2018 Game of the Year list is going to look like.
That's the thing. Like, our most anticipated list last year, when we were putting together our most anticipated 2017 list, it was actually difficult. Because there wasn't a lot of stuff. Like, 2016 was such a huge fucking year that there was not a lot of stuff announced for 2017 on January 1st, 2017 that we were, like, really super excited about. But 2018, there's plenty.
This year delivered.
Yeah.
And I think 2018 will deliver too.
Yeah.
And it'll deliver for the Loresworn Order. Look for a Project Grayson update, like I said, in a couple of months. We're going to start getting back to the talk shop. We haven't decided how often yet. It'll be less often than when we launched it because we burn out. But we wanna bring this back in a fashion where we won't burn out.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get back to some of our series and we have some huge news coming. This is going to be a great year for the Loresworn Order, and it'll be a great year by extension for our fans because it's all about you guys and your entertainment and your enjoyment. That's why we do it. We want a career and a business where we can just make you guys happy. That's the dream. So keep an eye out for announcements on how we have planned to deliver through multiple mediums ways to delight and entertain you. It's going to be a great year.
Rockstar port Red Dead Redemption to PC.
Please do that too.
See you guys next time.